So the conscience is affected because of a failure to conform to the moral law. That is, the bite affects the conscience, right? Which is what we're saying. The bite affects the conscience. Number 4, I think that's clear. I hope that's clear. And I can erase these. Number 4, the recognition of this failure in conformity, right, by the moral agent. So a recognition, I recognize now, damn, you know, I was doing 100 miles an hour in a 60-mile-an-hour zone. Cops pulled me over. Lights come on. As soon as the light come on, I'm like, I'm feeling sick. I'm like, oh my goodness. I knew I didn't see the cop. Why was I driving so fast? Damn it. That. Now, take that same vibe and put it to the moral imperative. You've lusted after this woman, if you're a man, or whatever. You've lusted after whatever you're attracted to, right? Whatever type of gender you're attracted to. So, in my case, I'm lusting after this woman. I'm a married man, and I think to myself, oh my goodness, I can't, you know, I know I'm not supposed to do this, right? Because my conscience is telling me I shouldn't do this. You immediately know that my conscience is telling me that I shouldn't do this. Not that it's something in me, but that it's been implanted within me, and the outside source, the moral law, is telling me that I shouldn't do it. Why? Because there's a rule that says I shouldn't do it. Insofar as I fail to conform, and I lust after this woman, I get the zap. I feel sick. I feel, oh man, I shouldn't have done this. Guilt sets in. And Nietzsche talks about this earlier. And at its most extreme case, fear sets in, right? So sort of guilt at a surface level, but deeper than guilt is fear. Because guilt will go so far, but then when I start to think, oh my goodness, you know, this might, if I'm a true believer, like a fervent believer, this could have implications on my eternal salvation. And oh my goodness, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't want, this is a problem. And hence we talked in the last section about sickness and how that manifests as a consequence of an inability to conform, and manifests as either punishment or testing and so on, right? So the conscience is affected because of a failure to conform to the moral law. And the next point, the recognition of this failure in conscience creates a sickness of self-torture. It's a direct quote from Nietzsche in note 233, right? A sickness of self-torture, meaning that you just constantly revisit the situation. And insofar as you revisit the situation, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I shouldn't have done that. Why did I do that? Why did you revisit? You continually revisit the situation, and you are psychologically abusing yourself, self-torturing yourself, right? That is, the devotee continually feels a sense of guilt and replays the immoral act, thereby increasing a sense of sickness, until the point at which I'm arguing that it could and does become psychosomatic, right? You really do get sick because of this profound sense of guilt or fear or stress, right? The external fear manifests as a stressor in your body, and you physically get ill. So this feeling now of sickness, now we're sick, you can see this as a progression, and I hope I'm not going too fast through this. I feel like it makes sense, but I don't want to assume that. And I couldn't think of an image to draw for this because it's a bit too sort of abstract a concept, or a succession of concept. But now I'm sick, right? Because I've transgressed against God and His law as the only form of transgression. So I've transgressed against God and His law, and I know that my conscience was telling me I should have conformed, but for whatever reasons I didn't conform. Insofar as I didn't conform, I know that I'm going to get in trouble. And insofar as I know I'm going to get in trouble, I start to revisit, why did I do that? I start to think, I shouldn't have done that. And I start to sort of psychologically self-torture myself. And insofar as I get this sense of guilt, I start to physically now get ill. And this is the point where we're at now. So 5, this feeling of sickness for having failed to conform to the moral law is the bite. So, all of that being said, the fully fleshed out notion of the bite is the feeling of sickness that a devotee has as a consequence of his or her inability to conform to the moral law, coupled with, and his or her guilt, profound sense of guilt for having failed, right? So it's all of that. It's all of that. The bite is the judgment, the ability to punish. But it's not just the ability to punish. It's the law and the ability to punish. But it's not just the law and the ability to punish. It's the law, the ability to punish, and the guilt and the fear of being punished. It's a perfect example. A horrible example, of course. Flashback to my amazing childhood. But it's, you know, and I would never have, you know, and my wife would never do this, but, you know, those of you who are older will know this. You wait till your dad comes home. I'm going to call your dad right now, and when your dad comes home, oh my God, that's the last thing you want to hear as a kid. Wait till your dad comes home, and then it's like you're watching the clock, and you're sick, and you're nervous, and you're scared, and then once you hear those keys, and you hear that door open, and daddy's home, you know all hell's about to break loose. Right? Because you're like, you've been prepared for the inevitable punishment, which makes the punishment, it amplifies the punishment because you have psychologically played your punishment in your head a million different ways prior to you actually getting punished. So when you actually get punished, it's that plus everything that you had in your head, right? It's deplorable. It's absolutely freaking horrible. The feeling of sickness for having failed to conform to the moral law is the bite of conscience. And we saw that this feeling of sickness is a biological, physiological feeling of sickness, right? Remember in the last image we said, or in the last discussion that we had, Nietzsche says that the bodily feelings are systematically reduced, right? The feelings that we have in the body, illness being one, is systematically reduced to moral and ethical consideration. And then that moral and ethical consideration, right, becomes conditioned by an inability to conform. So I say, the reason why I'm sick isn't because I ate something that was bad. The reason why I'm sick is because I did something that's bad, and because I did something that's bad, I was punished. Right? So that's the bite. So the bite is the fear, the bite is the judgment, the bite is knowing that you failed to conform. But for whatever reason you didn't think, you knew you were going to get in trouble when you did it. But there's something inside you that says, I want to do it anyway. Right? What Nietzsche's trying to tell you is, you have to make rational deliberations. He's not telling you to go out and be a hedonist. That's wrong. He's not telling you to go out and be an anarchist. That's wrong. Categorically wrong. At least my interpretation of Nietzsche is not conducive to hedonism, is not conducive to anarchism. It's not. It's rational deliberation at every single moment of every single second of every day. And in the rational deliberation, you make the best possible decision based on the information at hand. I would have made a better decision if I would have had more information, but the law is telling me I shouldn't lust after this person, and I'm not hurting anybody. God, wow, she looks good. You know, I go on. If I escalate, I have to weigh pros and cons, right? Is my engagement with this woman going to affect my wife to the point where it can harm my children and then I lose my family? Well, I'm not willing to risk that much, and that's what Nietzsche would say you need to be doing. You navigate it. It's all circumstance-based. It's all people have this sense of talking about Nietzsche in terms of relativism, which, to be honest, I'm not going to get into that now. I think it's way too general because there's so many other levels, as you've seen. But that bite doesn't pertain to anything that's relative. Each individual, all the different members of the community that conform, that have to conform to the moral law, right? All their actions might be relative, right? So that my action of lying and your action of lying are, in a sense, two actions of lying, but my circumstance might have been different from your circumstance, right? The moral law is not going to care about the relativity of the action, to be technical. There is no relativity of the action with respect to the moral law. The moral law says you cannot lie under any circumstances. You can't lie, despite the circumstance, right? There's never a justifiable way to reinterpret the moral law. If you do that, then you're sort of you're engaging in sophistry, in a sense, right? And not the good sophistry like me that I like, but the bad sophistry, right? You cannot change. The moral law, by definition, is inflexible. It is, right? It says do X, and you do X. There's not, well, you know, in this circumstance I wanted. So this idea of relativity is super general, right? And I think it's a gross exaggeration.